The last poll we saw, as far as I know, had Jamaal Bowman down 16 points in his primary in New York's 16th. There's no way to know because, polling is very difficult for small races, A. B, there has been consistently a question about, particularly in these small number of votes, races with the small electorate, who is going to come out? And there's a lot of stuff going around. Everyone knows about the enormous amount of money that George Latimer had from outside expenditures from AIPAC. $18 million as far as we know now. That number could even be higher. We're not going to know until, we get on the other side of this election and we start to see filings. We know that AIPAC dumped an extra $2 million into the Jayapal race, Pramila's sister, and they did it late so that the disclosure came after the election. But there's been, there's a combination of things going on here. Because you had people like Hillary Clinton come out and endorse Latimer, because you had Mondaire Jones endorse Latimer, there seems to be, sort of like not as aggressive protection of this incumbent from the DCCC as we've seen in the past. There's very little that has been, I think, like really expressed about who Latimer is. And there's only so much like local media that exists anymore. And when Latimer can spend $20 million, and no matter like the very little amount of live TV I watch, I've seen like half a dozen of these commercials.
Right. And those are the AIPAC funded through United UDP ads that don't mention Israel at all, but They're going after him very aggressively. It's the most expensive primary in the history of this country.
It's more expensive than a lot of like small countries, like presidential races or parliament races. But I just gave you a taste of two stories I think that really sum up who George Latimer is. The first one is from, I think this is from, is it Axios or Punchbowl? Yeah. Go down to this quote here. This is really astonishing. Now, we heard Latimer on a radio program make a similar argument. The reason why Jamaal Bowman won was because black people got an advantage from mail-in ballots and, of course, the BLM protests that were happening in 2020.
This is what a Democrat is saying.
Yes. And here he is sort of reiterating the point, which is both sort of grotesque point to make and also inaccurate, unless you have a very broad sense that there's only really two ethnicities. Yeah. That being white and then non-white. That's basically it as far as Latimer is concerned.
It's a little bit Romney-esque.
Yes. Is Bowman going to, he's asked a question like, he says he's confident he can beat Bowman. Is Bowman going to get at least 40% of the vote? He said, Latimer said, will he get people who are furthest to the left? Yes. But once you get, no, I'm sorry. Is he going to go get 40% of the vote? Yes. Does he have an obvious ethnic benefit? Yes.
Oh, an ethnic benefit.
An ethnic benefit.
Hello.
But once you get beyond a couple of constituencies that he has strength in, he's weak everywhere else. Now, he has an ethnic benefit. As far as we can tell, New York 16th is 40% white and like 25% Latino and 25% black and then maybe 10% other. Like, what is the ethnic benefit that he has here?
Well, it also has a significant Jewish population, which is in part why AIPAC's pouring all this money in to try to get a win on the ledger. And can you imagine if Jamaal Bowman said something like, George Latimer has a benefit with all of the Jewish people that are going to vote for him? It's so ridiculous. It's so
and I will say this. There is, I've seen reports that there was at least $1 million spent to register and to work specifically on the get out to vote of New Rochelle's Orthodox community. And, that community votes in a block when they vote.
But I don't know, Sam, if you were aware, but Mondaire Jones endorsed George Latimer, and Latimer's quote was that the argument about me running a racist campaign falls flat on its face when people who are African American, Latino, and Asian are supporting me, he said in an interview. So,
despite Bowman's ethnic benefit.
So Bowman gets an ethnic benefit, but it's not a racist campaign because this black man, congressional candidate, endorsed me, says George Latimer.
Also, the other aspect of Latimer that we've talked about on this program, and in part it was spurred by a phone call from someone from Latimer's girlfriend, I don't know what, paramour, family, who, after she retired as a judge, got a $150,000 job with the county that Latimer hired her for. Apparently up there, that's not a problem. But this is also a story that I think captures this guy's sort of like the sense that the propriety, I guess, or here's Latimer popped this story up. Westchester County Executive George Latimer facing an injury lawsuit stemming from a 2017 car accident in New Rochelle. All right, everybody gets into car accidents, I guess. A car Latimer was driving collided with another at the Wilmot Grand Boulevard intersection on July 21, 2017. I would like to know what time that was, but that's neither here nor there. The driver of the other car, Malaysia Malcolm, is seeking unspecified damages. In the suit, attorney Kevin Johnson said Malcolm sustained severe permanent personal injuries. He blames on Latimer failing to yield to a traffic control device and other negligence. The car struck a fixed object in a divider, the suit said. Latimer, then a state senator running for county executive, was driving a car owned by staffer Andrew Jenna, who's now an aide to Latimer. Jenna also named as a defendant in the suit. At the time of the accident, Latimer was dealing with registration issues regarding his own car, 2014 Jeep Cherokee. Latimer wasn't able to register his car due to a number of unpaid parking tickets in the area, although he drove it with suspended registration.
Gosh, crime's out of control in George Latimer's personal issues here.
But what it really shows is an incredible entitlement.
Yeah.
I got news for you. The amount of parking tickets you need to get to have your registration suspended is way up there. It's not a moving violation. Right. And then to be driving around on suspended registration, that's the nature of a lot of these New York local politicians. It is really corrupt stuff. And
old school corruption.
Old school corruption.
And if anyone saw that show, which was honestly really good, on HBO a few years ago called Show Me a Hero, which was about the Yonkers public housing fight, there was a similar fight, and you can read about this in the Progress Report Substack by Jordan Zakarian. He also does work for More Perfect News. A similar fight in Westchester County on whether or not they were going to approve, which they were legally obligated to do, these blocks of land for public housing for black, largely black people, but also poorer people to move into the area. And you want to guess what side of that fight Latimer was on? We know. Right. So he's an old school conservative Democrat within this like ecosystem in New York who clearly feels like he's above any kind of accountability.
And just oddly, so someone just IMing that there's also a story from 2017 that Latimer failed to turn over mobile phone records following that car crash because there's every reason to believe, maybe, that he might have been texting.
Citing a concern over pending litigation, Latimer declined to answer such questions as why he was not driving his own car, why he was driving a Jeep owned by his community outreach director, and why he was driving along Wilmot Road in New Rochelle in such a rush at 5 p.m. on a Friday. So it was 5 p.m. on a Friday, but he didn't want to say
just after happy hours.
On his way to happy hour?
Get in before 5:15 when they...
those politicians happy hour, you think the politician took an early Friday and didn't work up till 5 p.m.?
Oh, I'm sure he worked at 5.
What time? What day? Did they say it was in the summer?
I don't know.
Summer Fridays?
I don't know.
No.
But this is the nature of this guy, and we'll see. This is a huge race because not just in terms of trying to secure and maintain the size of the squad, but like this is a proof of concept situation for AIPAC. If they know they can go in and buy an election for $20 million, they'll do it on a two-time incumbent. They'll do it. And, after this, it's on to Cori Bush. But if they fail here, it means that there'll be a less inclination from their donors to dump more money into Cori Bush situation. And there's no guarantees, but it's going to make it harder for them to do this again. And if they win, it's going to make it easier. So we have all those resources. If you want to do some phone banking, if you want to help get out the vote, get in touch with the campaign. There's the WFP, really important primary tomorrow. Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.